everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. For those of you that are new around here, my name is Hannah and I'm an author from the southeast of England. My first book, number 47, is a thriller and it came out at the end of July last year and it's available on Amazon, so go check it out. So this week's video is another collab video. This is only my second collab, I think, that I've ever done. So yeah, I'm hoping to do more of these this year because they're really good fun. And this one is the 4-word writing challenge. So it started by Danny over at DR Ranger Writing, and then me and Dahlia just really enjoyed the videos that came out of it, so we've decided to jump on and have a go ourselves. And I think he did actually challenge us to do it, but it was such a long time ago I can't remember. So yeah, this is me and Dahlia Burrows doing this together. Obviously I'll put all of her details in the description, and Danny's as well, so go and check those two guys out. Absolutely subscribe to their channels because they're just great. So the rules of this collaboration. Basically, you are given 4 random words and you just write something with those 4 words in your story. Me and Dahlia are doing it slightly differently because we're going to have the same 4 words, so we want to see just how differently our stories turn out, even though we started off with the same words. So Danny gave us 2 of those words as part of the challenge, and then both me and Dahlia put it out to our Instagram followers to give us the other words. So one of the words is from my followers and one is from Dahlia's. So the words we ended up with were ruby, bubble, broccoli, and distinct. Wonderful. I think broccoli came from my followers, so yeah, thanks for that one. So yeah, I guess we'll get into it. I'm just going to find the beginning of my story. Actually, what I ended up writing is very different to anything I've written before. It's a totally different genre. It's not even really something that I read, so I don't really know where it came from. It just happened. I think actually broccoli. Broccoli was my stimulus word for some reason, and I'm not really sure how broccoli ended up to where this ended up, but anyway, shall we just crack on? The sun beat down against her closed eyelids, washing her face with a dry but pleasant warmth. There was a slight breeze in the air, just enough to suspend the dark brown hairs that had escaped her bun and lay them down gently against her skin, tickling the surface of her neck and exposed shoulders. The scent of salt made its way to her, drifting in off the sea and floating like tendrils around her face. Peace, she thought. Finally. Somewhere in the distance, behind her, she heard mumblings of people, a large group, making their way over to her once quiet spot. It was hard to picture how many of them there were without opening her eyes, and she was reluctant to let go of her peace just yet. The smell of salt and fresh sea air, the whistling of the breeze, the occasional squawk of a gull overhead, the escape from London, the freedom of the coast, the... Oh, for fuck's sake, she grunted under her breath, opening her eyes and turning her back on the picture she most wanted to savour. Here they come again. The herd, here to feed. Bloody fantastic. This, whatever this was not what Ruby had expected for her final outing as an undercover agent. What she'd been expecting, what she'd been hoping for, was more of the same from the rest of her career. Ball gowns sweeping the floor, masked villains, swanky hotels in tropical climates, poker, potent cocktails, concealed firearms, and heels that were clearly too high to commit to a chase in. You know, all those things you see in James Bond movies that are clearly true. But somehow, for her sins, Ruby had been sent on her last posting to the world-famous beaches and resorts of Benidorm. This is not what she'd imagined, not even remotely. The crowd of people emerged from the pool area of the resort and tumbled onto the concourse towards the restaurant. Feeding time at the zoo, Ruby mumbled, relenting her post by the sea and dragging her heels towards the dining area herself. She took up position in the central doorway to get the best view of the rabble as they descended onto the reheated buffet food. Her body leant coquettishly against the doorframe, her slender legs stretched into a pointed heeled sandal. The elegant crocheted dress she'd insisted on taking with her to her last hurrah draped effortlessly over her body. She inched her sunglasses down her nose, lifting her eyes over the frames to get a clearer view. There she is, she whispered, front and centre. The earpiece crackled to life in response. Keep your eye on her. Gee, thanks. I wasn't sure what to do. Sure glad you felt the need to tell me, she huffed. The earpiece remained silent and Ruby maintained her position in the doorway. Update, the earpiece demanded. She's with her family, shoveling an unnecessary amount of food onto her plate. Detail, it asked. Ruby frowned. Fine. Chips, what looks to be chicken nuggets and a single floret of broccoli. You know, traditional Spanish cuisine, she slurred sarcastically. Thank you, agent, the earpiece spat. Detail the movements, and less of the tone. I can hear you rolling your eyes. She let out a low breath. Mother and two children clustered together, moving away from the father, all remaining in the centre of the restaurant area. No way I can get near them without it being obvious. Good. Hold position, the earpiece replied, allowing for a pause. And stop raising your eyebrows. You're meant to be on holiday. Look happy about it, please. Oh, I am thrilled to be here. Haven't you received your postcard? No reply. Ruby's eyes were trained on the family in question as they circled around an overflowing basket of bread. Her foot rocked on the tip of its heel as she concentrated on holding the target in her sight. This is such a waste of time. Why would anyone think anything could possibly happen here? The doorframe began to dig into Ruby's spine, virtually telling her it was time to move on. She peeled her body away from her position and walked over to a vacant table a few spaces back from the family. Update, the earpiece crackled again. Am I not allowed to eat? Fine, just keep the target in sight. Ruby rolled her eyes far into the back of her head but didn't bother replying. She plucked a plate from its holder and dropped a random assortment of food onto the heavy white crockery. She walked amongst one bank of the buffet which sprawled across the floor, brimming with a sea of beige. Oh, God, this all looks so dry, she thought to herself, grasping a ladle full of a distinct-smelling yet unidentifiable sauce. It slid across the top of her meal, a blanket of further beige of a slightly different shade, but with quite a pungent tang of mustard seeds. Joyous, she groaned, settling herself down at her chosen table and loading her fork with what could have been paella. The job had been her life for the last 30 years, and now it was winding to a close. She didn't know how she ought to feel. This career, this choice she'd so consciously made as a young adult, had dictated her every move for virtually half of her existence. The concept of being free of it both excited her and scared her in equal measure. She'd not only survived, but she'd thrived in this bubble that she'd found herself in. Leaving it would take some serious getting used to. Update, barked the earpiece. Geez, Ruby whistled, shaken from her wandering thoughts. Nothing's changed. Look again, the voice demanded. What? Ruby stretched out her neck, conscious not to crane and draw attention to herself. They're still there. They're still... Wait a second. No, she's gone. That's not her, she said, lifting herself out of her chair and looking around the dining area. She's heading towards the lobby. Following now. Understood. Remain calm. We don't want to ruffle her. Ruby weaved between the tables. Her target was picking up pace, so she accelerated to match. Slow down, the earpiece said. No can do. If I slow down much more, I'll lose her. You're making this too obvious, Agent. I know what I'm doing, barked Ruby as she picked up the pace to a brisk walk, knocking someone's shoulder on her way past. Sorry, she said, turning briefly, but still pressing forward. She whipped her head back towards the exit of the room. The target was on the brink of jogging into the reception area and out onto the busy main road. Ruby's feet lifted off the white-polished floor and she flung herself after the woman. A handful of holiday-goers turned to watch the commotion as Ruby pushed past them, knocking various glasses and cutlery to the floor. The target turned at the sound of the smashing and locked eyes with Ruby for a split second before launching herself into a sprint through the reception of the hotel and out of the front door. The end. Or, for now, it's very much not a short story, but it's kind of like the beginning of what could be a longer story. I don't know if it ever will be. It was just quite fun to write. And yeah, I had a really good time with this challenge. Be sure to check out Dahlia's video. I am super excited to see what she did with that 4 ridiculous words. And yeah, I think more people should do this challenge because it's really good fun and it's really nice to challenge yourself with some weird words and maybe writing outside of your genre. So any authors that are watching, give it a go. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next week.